Hello. What an amazing week. Started off first with a chance to chat with folks going through the Oxbridge AIX program, which is a collaboration between Oxford University and Cambridge University. Did an AMA session with them, which is amazing. The next day, I got to go to Lewis and Clark here in Portland, hang out with some students going through Winterim there, which is like a startup weekend, but for a whole week kind of program. Got the chance to chat with them. But perhaps most importantly, and I know I've talked about it ad nauseum, but I'm so excited for this week to do the 2025 kickoff for the Portland startup community. I won't go into a great deal of detail here, but if you would like to hear more about it, just let me know in the comments and I can record something that you can watch that other folks won't have to watch if they're not interested. But I think, long story short, I think it went okay. I think it went okay. It was a just an experiment to see if, Pi and Silicon Florist and a variety of community partners collaborating to throw together a networking event would be valuable to the community. We've been receiving good feedback. We've been receiving critical feedback. I said I wasn't going to talk about it in depth, but long story short, about 400 people showed up. Seemed like a good vibe. And the next one is scheduled for April 8th. We'll do other stuff in between, but April 8th, big next networking event. The meetup page is already up. Please feel free to RSVP. Last I checked, we were already at 200 RSVPs for that one, so I think I'm going to need a bigger boat. But we will figure that out. Just RSVP. We'll figure out how big it's going to be, and we'll go from there. But if you would like to hear more about the ins and outs and how it worked and all those kind of things, I'll document all that. But please just let me know if you need me to record something on it. I'd be happy to do that as well. Okay, speaking of big events and the community getting together, if you missed the event this week and you're like, oh, I really wanted to get together with the tech community, it would have been nice to see people or whatever. What, you missed the Portland Startup Community Kickoff Gathering this week? I talked about it practically every week for a month or two. Look, I'm not mad. We're good. We're good. We're good. I just want you to know about this stuff. So if this stuff is important to you, if the Portland startup community is important to you, then please subscribe. Just subscribe and I'll keep you in the loop on all of this stuff every single week. It's the second Silicon Forest Tech Summit happening not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So the 25th of January, whole bunch of people getting together from the tech community. And this has a little startup bent to it, but it's more tech writ large. So, you got hardware people, you got circuit board people, you got printed circuit board people, you got software people, IoT people, you've got people who use technology at Nike, you got like Free Geek, you've got Startup Excel. They're just all kinds of people involved in this. And I've been proud and humbled to be an advisor for the project. So I will be there. But I get on stage pretty early. So you can get through my stuff and then listen to the truly interesting people. But last time around, they just let me record kind of an opening, which was nice. And but this time around, I actually have to be on stage. So please, it's a lightning talk. You only have to put up with me for like 3 minutes. You put up with me more here than you will have to during the event. So you should show up. The other part of it was last year, the first year, it was out in Hillsborough. So there was obviously a lot of the Hillsborough tech community wound up gravitating toward it. Still a lot of the Portland tech community in Beaverton, Tigard, and Gresham, and Vancouver, and all everybody came together. It was a great event, great speakers, great trade show environment. And this year, it's now moved downtown to Veterans Memorial Coliseum there in the Rose Quarter, will be held there. So it's in Portland. So I'm interested to see how the dynamic changes, what kind of attendees are there, but there are going to be several hundred people there, potentially 1,000. So please, tickets are cheap. They're more affordable than they should be. That's some of my advice to the organizers in the future is maybe your tickets are a little too cheap, but doing a great job, put together a great docket. There'll still be the trade show environment and all those kind of things. So please, if you missed the event this week, or if you went to the event and would like to go to another event to hang out with community, Silicon Forest Tech Summit 2025, happening January 25th at Veterans Memorial Coliseum. I will link it up so you can grab a ticket, and I will see you there. So maybe you're like, I don't want to network. I want to work. I have a startup. I got to get work done. It would be nice to work around other people, but I need to focus on work. Well, next Thursday, which will be January 23rd, will be a great day for you as well, because that's the day the Propel PSU new entrepreneurship and startup space will open on campus. That kicks off with the day of co-working through our friends at Upstart Collective. If you're interested in working out of the space, you just need to RSVP with them and get approved. You'll be given access and a hot desk to hang out at Upstart Collective throughout the day. And then, you're going to want to hang out at night too, because as it rolls into the evening, you'll not only get things like Demolicious. It's the first Demolicious of the year, which means we will identify the first person and company and startup to take the stage at the Champion of Champions event, which will occur in December when all of the winners show up. Or maybe not, maybe it'll only be one. Like maybe you can't tell. Like maybe this person who wins Demolicious this January will win every other Demolicious throughout the year, because the reigning champ comes back the next month to compete against everybody else. But what if there's somebody who's so strong, like a Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Mike Tyson kind of person who just continues to win month after month? We can't tell at this point. It's an open field. So we'll see who wins Demolicious. And then hopefully, maybe, there'll be other people who win Demolicious. But all that being said, very first Demolicious of the year. It's free, pitch event, 3-minute pitch. Audience gets to vote. Bunch of people get on stage, so you get a lot of choices. But if you would like to see people building businesses here in Portland and hear their quick elevator-ish pitches about what they're building, get the chance to vote for your favorites. That's what Demolicious is for, and that's occurring in the evening of the 23rd. At the same time, the Metro Region Innovation Hub is kind of doing their kind of open reveal. They're a thing now, and they're being more public about the work they're trying to do. That's happening on the 23rd. And then, of course, throughout kind of Demolicious and following and the Metro Region Innovation Hub reveal, there will also be just the Propel PSU open house. If you're not familiar with the Propel PSU project, you may be familiar with the Portland State Business Accelerator, which is on South Corbett, the building that's really hard to get to. Like you take the Ross Island Bridge and you're like, can I just turn right? No, of course you can't turn right because there's all kinds of traffic there. So you have to come through like South Waterfront or get in there another way. Anyway, great building. Used to house, a variety of companies and projects and programs, and Upstart Collective had space there for a while. But now the PSBA building is no more. Now it's Propel PSU. So they've moved west to campus, officially to the PSU campus, whereas PSBA was a little bit off campus because it was a building that PSU had access to, but it wasn't really officially on campus. So now they're right there on, if you know where the Max line, the orange line, runs through, they're right there by that, right by the Chase Bank and the art building and all that kind of stuff. So at the very southernmost end of the Portland State campus. But now they have this big new facility where they can host the Center for Entrepreneurship and Upstart Collective and a variety of other projects. So if you're interested in PSU and their impact on entrepreneurship and startups and founders in our community, then you'll want to keep an eye on Propel PSU, and you most likely will want to attend the open house so you can see what facilities they have there and what you might be able to do there, or what events might be there, or what other partners are hanging out there. So should be great. Thursday's just a huge day of co-working and events and startup-y stuff and open houses and innovation and so many things happening. So yet another big week in the Portland startup community that, with both the Propel PSU event and Silicon Florist Tech Summit, it's gonna be a really great week. This week felt really front-loaded. The next week's a little backloaded, so you can get all your work done Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday you can co-work. You can still get some work done, but then the nice thing about the Tech Summit is on Saturday, so you get a chance to do your work week and then go to an amazing event on Saturday. So again, I look forward to seeing you there. Okay, speaking of startups doing interesting work, bad segue, our friends at Graze, which if you don't recall, Graze is the company that is really looking to build tooling and functionality for Bluesky, because Bluesky is the new hotness. Like, everybody's psyched about what's going on with Bluesky, and with good reason, because, Twitter, who knows, TikTok apparently being banned. You got whatever Meta's doing with Facebook and Instagram, and people are like, yeah, where am I going to go? And it's like, well, you can go to Mastodon. Mastodon's doing some great stuff, and they're trying to figure out how to set up a foundation to manage their code base and like their strategy going forward. But Bluesky is taking a more kind of proprietary mixed with open path. But the nice thing about Bluesky is it reminds me of the very, very early days of the Twitter API, where there was kind of this openness to the product and the potential and the tooling that could be built around the product ecosystem or within the product ecosystem. And so our friends here at Graze, Devin and Pete, are continually like, Bluesky's moving fast, they're continuing to iterate, figure out things. They really are currently focused on helping you develop your own feeds. And if you're not familiar with the concept of feeds, there's like starter packs on Bluesky, which you can kind of create a library of interesting people, and you can hit one button and everybody can follow all those people you've curated. So there's like a Portland one and a tech one, startup ones, VC ones, which are really nice. Really good way to kind of kickstart your engagement on Bluesky. And then there are the concept of lists, which are, again, much like starter packs, but more with the content associated with them. So we create a list of all these people, and everything they post winds up on those lists. But as we all know, social media folks are multifaceted. They talk about a variety of topics and categories and businesses and their own personal stuff. I mean, apart from me, I just kind of babble about Portland startup stuff, but most people are not like that. So you have the starter pack, you have the lists, which are these people I want to hear all of their content in a kind of curated list, and then you have feeds. But feeds, you have to be a developer to build a feed. And the feed is based around a topic. So it's like there is a Portland feed. Like anybody who says anything about Portland, I can follow the Portland feed. Or there's a startup feed, I can follow that one. Or there's one that's like the top tech publications, and I can follow that feed. But I'm not a developer, so I can't build a feed. So what am I supposed to do? That's where Graze comes in. Graze makes it easy for even idiots like me to build a feed on Bluesky that not only I can use for my own benefit, but I can share with everybody else. So if someone respects my point of view, my algorithm on how I'm curating Bluesky content, they can use that same feed. They can subscribe to that same feed. So rather than a monolithic algorithmic decision made by a corporate entity, Bluesky has allowed you to own your own algorithms, to crowdsource algorithms. It's a really just thoughtful way of approaching the curation of content. And Graze is taking it a level deeper, which is like empowering more people to build those feeds really efficiently. Now, a fringe benefit of that for Graze, that feed creation, is they also have the option of inserting sponsored posts into those feeds, or just inject posts in general, whether they're sponsored or not. But it also offers the opportunity for people to sponsor content within those curated feeds. And the nice thing from a user perspective is, like, if you don't mind the sponsorship, great. No problem there. If it's something that you're not interested in or it offends you, you can go build your own feed of the same exact content, but it won't be introducing the sponsored content. So everybody wins, I guess, is what I'm saying, which is really interesting. And, I've been keeping an eye on them, trying to get my head around, because Devin and Pete are like super sharp, really smart, like super thoughtful about this stuff. And so sometimes they have to kind of drag me along and like dumb it down to explain it to me. But I'm kind of following, and I'm trying to explain to you. And hopefully it at least inspires you to go, Rick doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go look at what it actually is. But they recently ran an experiment. I told you the first experiment they ran, they partnered with Portland startup Fanwagon to test drive something. And then they've recently done like a 24-hour test of a feed and some content that was sponsored content that was introduced to that feed. Basically, in 24 hours, they got somewhere upwards of 500,000 views on that content within that feed. And the organization managing the feed received advertising income revenue from sponsored content in that feed, and that worked effectively. And, the best part about the whole thing is they also didn't receive any negative feedback about the sponsored content. So it seemed to be that they're kind of honing in on this like win-win-win kind of situation where everybody's happy. People who want to build feeds have the ability to build feeds. People who want to consume those feeds have a whole bunch of new feeds that they can consume. People who want to get in front of those people consuming those feeds can do that in a very thoughtful and approachable way. So obviously I'm super excited about Graze, not just because it's built by Pi alums and I'm the co-founder and general manager of Pi, and I was lucky enough to hang out with these people way back in the day before they were cool, before they were on the Bluesky and doing all the cool things and getting the shout outs from the cool Bluesky CEO and CTO and whatever. I knew them way back when. I'm like a hipster startup person. I knew them before they were cool. So, but I'm keeping an eye on them. Graze is great. Keep an eye on it with me. I will try and keep you up to date. But if you have any interest in Bluesky or the curation of that content, you should be keeping an eye on Graze. And this one was a weird one to me. Like, I kind of understand why it was the most popular one, but this was the biggest story of the week, and it seemed very out of character for the typical Silicon Florist Portland startup news readership. I left it until the end because I was like, I can't get my head around why this is the most popular story. But it clearly wound up in some algorithmic, maybe it was on Tech Meme or it got picked up by Google News or something. But what's the news app that everybody like, the Fest? Anyway. It wound up somewhere because of an algorithm and popped off and got a lot of views and all these kind of things. But again, I'm like, I don't think that's really what you're interested in, so I'll leave it till here. Intel Capital is being spun off from Intel into a separate entity to manage the fund. And I only touch on it because Intel has such a significant presence here, and Intel Capital has had a presence here for a long time, and even, have chatted with Intel Capital a lot. We've seen companies they've invested in from time to time in Portland. It's fairly rare. We were lucky enough to have somebody from Intel Capital hang out with us, have a desk at Pi back in the early days to help folks understand what strategic investors actually do. And that's why we don't see as much potential engagement from Intel Capital, because by and large they're a strategic investor. And if you're not terribly familiar with the world of venture capital, there are all kinds of different investors along the spectrum. And it kind of starts with, friends and family who aren't really VCs. They're just kind of giving money. And then it goes on to angels, where it's people who are better experienced in investing in early stage startup technology. And then you get to institutional VC, which is look, it's my job to invest this money for these other people. I'm not investing my own capital per se. I'm investing someone else's money. And then, you get into the lettered rounds with the bigger funds and those kind of things. And then, you get around Series B, Series C, and that's where traditionally organizations like Intel Capital suddenly come into play. And what the strategic investors, the usually corporate-led strategic investors, or now, given that they're being spun out, corporate-aligned strategic investors, the work they do is, how do we invest in companies that not only show a potential of returning capital to us as a firm, but also further the strategy of the organization we're representing. So in the case of Intel Capital, of course, continuing to push the need for advanced processor power, the speed of processors, the consumption of Intel technology, those are the kind of companies that Intel Capital looked to invest in. I assume that will continue as they spin out into a new entity, but you never can tell. They may have a wider swath of what a strategic investment looks like. They may go earlier, they may go later, they may do more follow-on. You can never tell when a fund gets to stand on its own what exactly it's going to do. So I will keep an eye on Intel Capital. I doubt for many, 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 many of you startup founders in town this will ever come across your radar. But should you be in a situation to be building an extremely high growth company that gets up into the lettered rounds and has something that directly impacts processor power, consumption of processors, Intel Capital may be an option for you. So I want to keep an eye on it. I'll let you know. Again, because Intel has such a significant presence here, I think it's important that we keep an eye on them. But don't worry about anything. I got you. We're good. We'll just keep an eye on it and see what happens. Again, kind of a crazy week early in the week. Then it kind of slowed down a little bit. Now it's going to be a crazy week later in the week with the Propel PSU stuff and of course the Silicon Florist Tech Summit, which should be amazing. And I look forward to seeing you there. But all in all, there's some good momentum here. The vibe at the Kickoff event was nostalgic, I think is the best way to put it. But also, and I got this feedback, it was a lot of people were like, this felt like 15 years ago in terms of energy, but it was a far more interesting and diverse, not so homogenous collection of folks pursuing ideas. And I take that as a complete win for us, and want to do more of it, and want to do more on April 8th. So please RSVP. But all that being said, great week. this week. I feel like 2025 is going well so far. Let's not screw it up. Hang in there. I hope everything's going well for you and that you feel this momentum and you're benefiting from this momentum in the Portland startup community. And until we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work.